Hey guys, and welcome to Beating the Press podcast, your weekly podcast where we talk all things football. If that's your type of thing, want to click the like, subscribe, all that good stuff down below. Today, as always, I'm joined by my beautiful co-host, Ty, and my name is Christian. Today, we're going to be talking about Harry Kane. So there's a lot being going around in the press at the moment, in particular talk sport, namely Jamie O'Hara. I don't know why we're listening to Jamie O'Hara, but some people do actually think that he's making a good point. So the question is Harry Kane pulling his weight at Tottenham? And are Tottenham actually better off without Harry Kane? Obviously, during the summer, there was a lot in the media about him joining Man City. Will he, won't he? Man City got Jack Grealish. They kind of prioritised Jack Grealish over Harry Kane. And obviously, Harry Kane didn't end up moving. So I'm going to put it to you, Ty. Are Tottenham better off without Harry Kane?
Wow, straight off the bat. Hi, everyone.
Right off the bat.
Are Spurs better than? I mean, it's a question that Jamie Harder's obviously put, to the listeners on Talksport when he mentioned it. I don't know why the fuck I think he's so shit. But I think to be fair, I think it's a fair question because at the moment, if you watch his performances, he's been really, really poor.
Yes.
And if you look in isolation, the last few games, you probably say they have been worse because the Palace game he played, they were shit. The Man City, the last game, Chelsea game, he was poor. And before that, he wasn't playing and Spurs got results. Do you know what I mean? So if you look in the real short term, then, the answer is yes. Well, Harry Kane's obviously a brilliant player anyway. I think the situation has massively changed over the summer because he obviously wanted to leave. He had the interview with Gary Neville, didn't he, around the overlap, saying, there comes a point where you want to leave and all that. And he got to go public and, let everyone know that he's not happy at Spurs. He wants to leave. And the whole thing with Daniel Levy. And then the fans getting on his back a bit. Well, they didn't really get, but the media sort of started to say, why is he getting a different deal to say another player? He's a darling of England, and he's England captain. He's he's a pretty boy. Well, it's not a pretty boy at all. He's a darling of England. We'll leave it there. He's a darling of England, and England captain, and he's got away with it the way his attitude has performed and his behaviour has been. And now he's come back. And I actually think you can tell a lot with someone's body language. And Roy Keane mentioned it as well. Mm-hmm. I don't think in the current state he is in, I think it might just be a case of sitting him out for a bit. I know it's going to sound so left field, but Spurs were playing without him, were playing better without him. And it might just be a couple of games just for him to say, just go away, take a break. Because I don't think his head's completely in it at the moment. And, he can score. He'll score a hat-trick next game and everyone will be like, whatever. But I just think there's an underlying issue here. And I don't think it's an easy fix just by simply saying, he'll play himself back into form. I personally think you get to the end of the season, Spurs are playing like Spurs always play. They're going to end up somewhere near, 7th, 8th, get knocked out in the last 16 or quarter final in the cups. And I actually think the same thing's going to happen again next summer. And they'll be like, fuck this, I need to leave. I need to go find myself another club.
I think it's just a case, could it simply be down to just a bad run of form? He's notoriously been a bad starter to the start of the season, and if we think back to last season, like Mo Salah, he must have went around about 6 or 7 games without scoring a goal, not necessarily playing great. Granted, we had a few players out missing. Could it not, if I was Ken, if I came to you and said, it's purely coincidental, it's just new manager, new tactics, I've just got a bit of lack of confidence at the minute. Do you not think it could be down to that?
Of course it can. But I think the situation that he finds himself in and the stuff that's happened over the summer and his behaviour, that's led to it. I mean, no one knows exactly why. I mean, it could well be form. It could be out. We don't know. But I think I'm just going by his body language, and the question's got to be asked because of what happened in the preceding months. And his performance since he's come back as well, he hasn't done a lot. You know what I mean? I think sometimes even when you're not scoring goals, you're doing the rest of the stuff right. Do you know what I mean? He just keeps. I think there needs to be a conversation with him, and if I can't imagine Nuno Espirito Santo asking him to play that deep, he keeps dropping deeper and deeper and deeper. He needs to just forget all that and just stick himself to being the best 9 in the league. Go play up front and score your goals. I think he's just trying to come deep, and there's too much. you're trying to reinvent a player who's like going to end up being England's record goal scorer. But do you know what I mean? I just think he's going to end up smashing the all-time Premier League goal scoring record. Why are we trying to get him into a 9.5 or whatever position, trying to create? Just let him play. Let him play up front. Leave him as a 9. That's it. You play. You know what I mean? And don't overcomplicate it for him.
I'm pretty sure that none of the managers are, in reality, telling him to go and drop deep and link up the player. I think that's of his own volition, and he's on the right to pretty much go and get the ball if he's not receiving the ball. But I'm like you. I think he should be just staying in the box. You think of Wayne Rooney. When the likes of Cristiano Ronaldo, those players came in, he was kind of pushed out of the 9 role. Whereas Harry Kane is predominantly a 9. He's not going to be getting pushed out there. And, you've seen the effect that it had on Wayne Rooney, where he was going out wide, he was dropping deep. It took him a hell of a lot longer to break any of those kind of records at the pace and at the trajectory that he was going at the time. So it's kind of his own volition that he's kind of punishing himself. But on the other hand, then again, I want to say that Harry Kane has completely overachieved in the last few years. If you think of over the last 5-6 years, he's been in a Tottenham team which has never been the best team in the league. They've always played second fiddle, whether it be to Man City, even Leicester at a point, and he has always consistently been there. So perhaps he's shooting himself in the foot by overachieving. We expect so much more from him. You think of Tottenham, they lost their most creative player in Christian Eriksen. Have they ever really replaced him? And he's still banging in the numbers.
Yeah, I think I don't think he's ever overachieved. I just think he's a brilliant striker. Alan Shearer never played for the best teams. He was loyal to Newcastle, Blackburn. You know what I mean? And is a record Premier League goal scorer. So I don't think he's overachieved. I can see your point. I think he's been too good for Spurs. I think I can completely understand him wanting to leave, because he's too good for Spurs. I think he's obviously looked at his career and thinking, I'm not going to win anything. I'm not going to win a Premier League. I'm not going to win a Champions League with Spurs. I need to move. So I completely understood why he did that. I think the issue is the way he's done it, and now he's kind of sulking. You know what I mean? And he's like, well, this is my performance stuff. And it'd be really interesting. We'll never know this answer, but I'd love to know if Man City offered Daniel Levy 120 million now, if he took it. Do you know what I mean? Like now, look at his attitude. It's like, we've got him, but my God, he's not playing great, is he? We're not getting results. We're going to end up wherever. And I think the good thing for Spurs is, with or without Kane, they're going to finish in the same position.
Yes.
What I mean? I don't think it makes a difference to where they finish. Whereas I think with Man City, he makes a difference. Do you know what I mean? It's a weird conundrum they're in. And I think with Daniel Levy, it's just a power thing as well. He's just, as Guardiola called him, he's like the greatest negotiator in the world. You know what I mean? No messes with him. But I think he was trying to say he's an absolute twat.
Yeah. But Bergwijn, Son and Mora, obviously they started the season really well when Harry Kane wasn't there. And obviously Espirito Santo, he's the current Premier League manager of the month. It's funny how things change so quickly. And obviously, I remember Spurs fans were laughing at the fact that they were top of the league and Arsenal were bottom of the league. Now, obviously, if Arsenal win against Spurs in the upcoming game, they go above them. They go above them. So again, I just found how quickly and perhaps how fickle football fans can actually be, but that does actually coincide with Kane coming back in the team. But just going back to your point there, I was just going to ask you that question. Do you think, and you've probably already answered it, do you think Daniel Levy does regret not taking 100 million at this moment in time?
Daniel Levy is one of those people that you never hear anything from, but you know full well he's got the biggest ego in every room he ever enters. And I think if you ask him now, he'll be like, nah, I made the right decision. He'll be like, will you have that? Be like, nah. They're just, Joe Louis owns it and he's a billionaire. He's absolutely minted. I don't think the money's the issue. I think it just comes down to principle and being a bit of a bell end. And he's really, really good at that. So I just think you ask him in his, if you ask him in his heart of hearts, he'll be like, you know what, he's not happy here. Let's just let him go, get the 120 and we'll buy someone else. You know what I mean? But I think it comes down to a bit of a power struggle with him as well. He's like, I'm bigger than Kane. I'm the most important person at Spurs. That's the way I think he sees it. He's obviously seen
Yeah.
Bale go, he's seen Modric go, and now obviously Kane wants to go as well. But yeah, I think Daniel Levy's a podcast in itself.
We obviously in the past, we probably will do one of them.
Yeah, biggest, worst, best and worst. Actually, it's a great one, best and worst chairman.
He's probably both of the answers. Of
depending on which side of the fence you're on, yeah. If he's usually club or not.
Just obviously, we're Liverpool fans. For those of you that don't know, we obviously had this with multiple players along the years wanting to leave, but we've got because we were underachieving at the time. You think back to the likes of Steven Gerrard, for example, with Chelsea. In the end, he didn't end up leaving, and you can understand why they do want to leave, because they don't feel like the club's improving. You think back to Poch, he was very close to that manager. Since then, there's been another couple of managers, and he's no further forward than what he was 5 years ago. So you can't blame him for that, but you can blame him for, like you said earlier, how he handled it, the Gary Neville thing, the fact that he didn't turn up to training. We don't know whether, So he has brought a lot of this on himself, but with him turning, I think he's going to turn 29 next June or July. So he's still got a good few years in him. You think of Lewandowski, he's about 33, 34, similar-ish type of players if Harry Kane wanted to be, staying in the box and what have you. So do you still think that Man City will come in next year? I think maybe considering they may get about another good 4 years out of him.
Yes, because I don't think football clubs and fans have got morals. Not fans, football clubs and owners have got any morals, so they're not going to go, or principles. They're just going to go and they'll be like, we don't care. We'll just, business is business, isn't it? We're getting Harry Kane for 100 million, we'll buy him. So I think it'll go down to the fact if Guardiola thinks we need him. I think he does. I think the other question is, I think if you asked Guardiola and Man City, would they rather have Grealish or would they rather have Kane? We said it at the start. Do you remember the podcast? We said Kane's the one they need, not Grealish, because they've got 5 Grealishes. Well, they're not up to a standard. Some people might argue, yes, they are, but they're covered in those positions. Man City would go back in for him. Like I said, I don't think there's any, there's no morals or class in football, I don't think, anymore.
Yeah, because obviously, like world-class number 9's not growing on trees. So,
the only thing is, I think if I just come to me now, next season, I think Haaland coming available, they go for him, because obviously he's got a release clause and everything's cheaper, and it is cheaper. You got Haaland instead of Kane, and I think Kane in the back of his mind probably knows that. And the thing with Harry Kane is he knows if Man City don't buy him, no one's going to buy him, because he don't want to leave. He don't want to leave the Premier League, and he can only go to Chelsea. Well, I say look, they've just signed Lukaku, so where's he going to go? Man United? Well, they've signed Ronaldo. You know what I mean? It's like, where do you go? So the clubs where he's pretty much left with Spurs now. I mean, Liverpool first can't afford him; they won't pay that sort of stuff anyway. But yeah, I just think he's struggling. I think it literally is only Man City now he can go to, unless obviously they go for Haaland next season. So I think it's to be really, really interesting next year for him. I think he needs to get his head down and start playing again.
So you just said that. I'm just going to throw this in. Would you take him at Liverpool?
Oh yeah, 100%.
If you consider the way that he plays the game, you would take
100%. Yeah, absolutely. And I think him dropping deep and doing that, I think it almost works for the way Liverpool play, because of our wide inverted wingers. Obviously, he drops in this, and is a better version of Firmino, isn't he? You know what I mean? Yeah. Doing that, but obviously, I mean, Firmino's pressing's better, but that's it. Kane can drop in, his passing's better, his finishing's better. He's just a better player. So I'd absolutely, I'd love him there, but it's not going to happen, and I'm not going to. Yeah. I know we've got Divock Origi. We just move. We move.
Just in closing, Spurs, like, what do we actually expect of Spurs? They just they kind of floundering, and again, we're kind of letting Harry Kane off the hook a little bit with the fact that he should leave to better himself. But what direction do you see them going at the moment?
I think Spurs are a bit of a mess. Not a bit. I think they're a huge mess. Did they go for about 3 different managers who turned them down in the summer?
It's a job that literally nobody wanted.
Yeah, I know. And then Nuno Espirito literally got it. He got the job because literally there was no one else. He's like, please take it, sort of thing. And I think Harry Kane's situation didn't help. They've signed Romero at the back. They've signed Bryant, that Hill. Again, I don't see. I mean, Nuno Espirito Santo is a very pragmatic, defensive-minded manager. I don't think Spurs fans want to see that. They beat Man City, brilliant. They've got beat by Chelsea. I thought they started all right against Chelsea as well. I just think there's just something not right. I mean, I think he is a new manager. It takes time to get your ideas across and all that. But I just think, I mean, when they started well, I thought, oh, they might be onto some out here. Well, then the reality hit home, and it's Spurs. You know what I mean? I don't think they're no danger to the top four. You just carry on. I think Leicester, Brighton. I think Leicester could. I think Arsenal could even finish ahead of them. And we were writing Arsenal off. I just think Spurs are in a situation where they just need a huge overhaul from top to bottom. It's like they've spent all their money and all their resource on getting a new stadium. We've got the best stadium in the world, but they've kind of forgot about the team. They've got 2 or 3 world-class players with a lot of average players. You know what I mean? And I just think it's a club that's in a bit of a mess. And the guy, I just think it just needs a huge overhaul. Getting new players ain't going to change it. I think a new manager may well have helped. Well, again, that's just the top managers aren't going to go to Spurs, and that showed over the summer. So I think they are struggling.
Chelsea, obviously, that's not going to be the game where you're going to define your season. They're a quality side. They look like they're going to push anyone for the title this year. But it's the Crystal Palace one that was the worrying one. 3-0. They didn't even look like scoring.
I think they got bullied in that game. And I always think that's the worst way to lose a game, when you get bullied.
Yeah, especially. You think of the Tottenham teams of the last few years. Like they have they've been renowned as a bit of bottlers, but they still have players that have got a bit of fight in them, like the Dele Allis and Harry Kane. But I just think back to a couple of years ago. Obviously, they were in a Champions League final with us. They weren't a million miles away from us. But right now it seems like
they are. My issue with them is, we talk about players. Players are obviously, they play a huge part in how well you do in a season. We spoke about these 2 players, and we've always met Eric Dyer and Dele Alli are just average players. They're not very good. They seem to be playing regularly now, and that always is. Ben Davies is sniffing around that team. I know regular players. You've got some really bad players that are playing there. You've got Skip and Winks. I mean, come on. Do they get? I mean, forget about the top 4. I mean, they won't even get into Brighton's team. Do you know what I mean? I'm just trying to think what level are they at? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I saw it in. I think it was Skip, Winks, and
Højbjerg.
maybe Sissoko or Højbjerg. It's 3 defensive midfielders, and I think it might have even been the Palace game that they were playing in. You would understand it against the likes of Chelsea, but it's just beyond ridiculous them decisions, and I'm sure Spurs fans will be tearing their hair out. Just last question on this: do you think Nuno is the man forward? Do you think he's going to be able to take them?
I was actually looking at the next manager to get sacked.
Already?
Yeah, I mean, I know Arteta was favourite for a while, but he seems to have got a couple of results together which will ease and appease the fans, and probably keep the owners finger off the trigger. I think he could go.
Again, you don't know. Levy, but Daniel Levy to pay out the contract.
That's exactly how we're going to say it. But it's him. It's a very, it's like really weird. I mean, I wasn't saying Norwich. What's his name? I forgot his name now. But the Norwich manager, I think he's probably going to, but he won't go because Norwich know they're just going to go down. They'll come back up. They'll go down. They'll come back up. You know what I mean? And it'll just they're happy with that model. But I think Spurs. I think there's a chance he could be first one to go if he continues. I mean, they have had tough games. I think Palace are better than what they were previously, and I think Man City. I mean, Chelsea obviously a really tough game anyway. They have beaten Man City as well. So if you look at the results and the teams they've played, the results aren't bad. You know what I mean? If you look at overall, but I just think it's not a good place to be at the moment, and I think Kane is a big issue that's causing that. The manager, obviously, a new team, all that sort of stuff. But I think Harry Kane having to play just because it's Harry Kane, even though he's not playing very well, doesn't help.
Before we move on to your question of the day, I think I can guess what it is.
Yeah.
Is there a particular manager out there that you could think that would suit Spurs, who would go to them, who would take them to that next level? Is there a young manager maybe out there which you would recommend if you were speaking to Daniel Levy on a personal level?
Yeah, I mean, I think Eddie Howe. I think Eddie Howe is the one that jumps up at me really, really good. But I think if you want an international top, I'd say top manager, he's already turned them down. Antonio Conte, and then Joachim Löw as well, who's just obviously left the Germany national post. But I think Eddie Howe, he gets the Premier League, he plays a way that I think Spurs fans want, and I think he deserves a chance as well. But that's the one who I think. But again, is he glamorous enough for Daniel Levy and the fans? So, question of the day time. So my obviously it's linked to this subject. The question of the day is it worth having an unhappy, brilliant player at your club, or do you just bite the bullet and say, see you on your bike, take your money and away you go? I mean, we're obviously talking about Kane in this situation, but we've had this situation before with players. I know Gerrard for a bit towards just before they won the Champions League when Chelsea were in and about, and I remember his performances did drop off just because that was on his mind. There's been moments like that for other players as well over the years. So just your thoughts as always, just below. Put your comments down. We do respond to every comment. Like and subscribe that shit as well. Share it with your friends and family if you're feeling really nice.
No, it's cracking. I'll be interested to see, because like you're saying there, sometimes it does work. Steven Gerrard eventually came round to the fact that he was staying, done very well for us towards the end, and obviously a lot of the time it doesn't work out. But so yeah, like you said, interested to hear how, in particular Spurs fans, if any Spurs fans are in watching, just make sure you comment down below. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. See you later, guys.
Bye.